Welcome to Real Women of Bastrop, where small town charm meets big time grit. I'm your host, Lindsay Kana, sixth generation Bastropian, realtor, and community cheerleader. Around here, we're more than big hair. We're business owners, mamas, creatives, and quiet powerhouses. And this podcast, well, it's pulling back the curtain on the stories, struggles, and strength of the women who keep this town running. Because every woman has a story, and around here, we believe yours matters. Let's get into it.
My name is Andrea Eames, and I'm a writer. I grew up in Zimbabwe, then lived in New Zealand for a long time, and now I live in Bastrop.
It's nice. Okay. I love that you're here in Bastrop, but tell me a little bit about Zimbabwe and your childhood growing up. What was that like?
Well, it was very different. Texas, the scenery is actually not that dissimilar to Zimbabwe, but we had a lot more lions.
Wow. Yeah.
It was a great place to grow up. The wildlife was beautiful, and it was a really cool experience, but it was politically very troubled, and that worsened and worsened until the early 2000s, which is when we left.
Wow. Wow. And when you left there, where did you go?
New Zealand, Christchurch.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And you were there for how long? New Zealand.
About 10 years.
Okay.
Yes, I went to college there. That's where I did my my uni and my master's in creative writing while I was there. And then I moved to Texas in 2010.
Okay. Was that a big adjustment, or were you good with it? Yeah.
Well, I thought I was moving to Boston, first of all, because it was my husband's tech job. He was opening up a new office in Austin,
Yeah.
my husband at the time. And he said that for his job, we were going to go and live in Austin for a while. And I heard Boston. So I thought, oh, okay. Yeah, I was just prepared for something very different. All I knew about Texas was King of the Hill and,
Uh-huh.
like cartoon characters, pew, 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 and cowboy hat, just
Yes.
cartoons. So I wasn't really expecting much, I guess. But when
Yeah.
I came here and actually visited, I really loved it.
Yeah. Nice. That's hilarious, Boston. So tell
Yeah.
me you're a writer. So tell me, have you always been drawn to that since you were little? Did you write stories? How has that been a part of your life?
I wrote my first published book when I was 5, and by published I mean I stapled it together and
Still,
gave it to my mum.
I love it.
I made a little cover, and I made a little back with a blurb on it and a little barcode
You
and a
at
little
5?
yeah.
That's impressive.
So I always knew it's what I wanted to do. I did other things, like because you need to have a real job, right?
Yeah.
But I'm lucky enough to be able to write full time now.
Yeah.
But I've also taught, in the past English and things like that, and
Yeah.
worked in journalism briefly and in publishing.
Okay.
But writing's pretty much been my focus since I was very little.
Okay. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Dylan Thomas Prize. How old were you when you were shortlisted for the Dylan Thomas Prize? And I probably a lot of listeners might not know how big of a deal this award is, but it's a very big prize, right? One of the most prestigious awards for young writers
I think
in the world.
they've adjusted the age, I think, now, but it's the largest prize for writers under 30 in the world, and it's an international prize.
Yeah.
I was one of 5 shortlisted authors from around the world. For my second book, The White Shadow, which was set in the 1960s and 70s in Rhodesia, which is what Zimbabwe used to be before independence. It was a book that kind of dealt with the treatment of women and witchcraft and the war that was going on at the time. So I got to go to Wales for that week, do a press tour, and I'm still friends with the other authors. One of them she's like superstar now, she was a superstar then, but now she's like,
Yeah.
listed for the Booker Prize and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And Tom is still a really good friend of mine who writes crime and folk horror. We've all stayed in touch, which is really nice. But we got to
Good.
live in this farmhouse in Wales for a week.
Wow.
And they frequently forgot to feed us. Or they'd send us pizza from Swansea town centre, and then it would be cold by the time it arrived. So
Oh no.
we bonded,
Over
really
the hunger?
Yeah, just a bunch of hungry authors living in a for a week. And the farmhouse it was beautiful, old, and we got to see Dylan Thomas's house as well. The farmhouse had these giant white animals. Like every animal in that property was enormous and white. Huge white goats, massive sheep. I don't know, it was strange. But sorry, that's a bit of a tangent. It was a week-long press tour. We went around schools, universities, different publications and TV stations and things. And then at the end, there was sort of a gala black tie thing where they gave out the award. And Maggie won, which was very well deserved. But yeah, it was a really cool experience.
Very cool. And how old were you when that happened?
Sorry, you did ask that. Yeah, I have to do math. I'm not good at math. So,
Yeah.
yeah. It was in 2012. I was I 20? Yeah, 27. Sorry. That's embarrassingly long time to work out.
That's awesome. Okay, so did that moment when you were selected for that, did it change the way that you thought about yourself as a writer? And I mean, what was the feeling in that? Did that inspire you to write even more? Or
Yeah.
yeah, tell
I
me a
think
little
it
bit about that.
affected it for sure. It made me I think a lot of artists and, people in general suffer from some sort of imposter syndrome
Yeah.
where you feel like you're sort of faking it. And even with my first novel, although it was well received when it came out, that was based on my childhood in Zimbabwe and was very autobiographical. So The Wet Shadow was the first kind of real grown-up novel that I'd written. It wasn't based on my own experience. So it was legitimizing, validating, I guess, to sort of
Yeah.
think, okay, I can do this. Other people
Yes.
like it.
Yeah.
That was it definitely spurred me on. Although I moved to the States right before that all happened, and I really struggled with writing once I had made
Yeah.
that big international move. I think it just blocked me for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. How long before you wrote another book after you moved?
Well, founded a small poetry press with a friend in Austin, and
Mhm.
I got very into the poetry scene there, and published two chapbooks with our small press, as well as
Oh,
some other
nice.
poets' work. I didn't write the novel that I had written. It just never found a home. A novel after The White Shadow. My agent shopped it around. They didn't want it at my original publisher, which was Penguin Random House, and we tried for a little while. It just wasn't really there. It wasn't really clicking. And it took a long time to write again. I had a lot of personal turmoil going on,
Yeah.
and I ended up getting divorced, and there was, just a lot going on. So writing was sort of sidelined for a bit, and I was teaching at that time.
Okay.
But when the dust settled from that,
Mhm.
that's when I started writing what became A Harvest of Hearts, which is the book that came out this year. So it's published by RWOB, which is an imprint of Kensington here in the US, and
Okay.
then by HarperCollins in
Oh, yeah.
the UK.
Mhm.
And then there's editions coming out in Ukraine, Russia, France, and Poland so far.
Nice. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to write, and I'm thrilled, and I was very surprised and thrilled that it was so so easy to sell once I came to shopping it
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. Very cool.
It's very different. It's a left turn from what I was writing before.
Okay. Yeah, that's always so interesting to me when I don't in my head, I think, and I know this is silly, but once someone's writing, a certain way or style, or if you're writing poetry, you kind of stick with that. But I guess it's kind of fluid and you can move across all different types of
It
writing and
depends.
yeah.
Yeah, you
Depend
do.
on your mood a lot too and just what's going on in your life.
Yes, I write poetry when my life is a mess. That's the only time that
Interesting.
poetry really comes, or when something really big happens. Like I just
Yeah.
wrote a poem for my grandfather passing earlier this year, and it's the first time I've written one in a while. So poetry is when things are sort of falling apart.
Yep.
Prose needs a bit more time and peace, I think. But
Wow.
I think when I left Zimbabwe, because I knew Zimbabwe really well, I grew up there, and I felt
Mhm.
very intimately acquainted with the landscape, as I'm sure. Did you grow up here in Texas?
I did. Yes, and
You
Bastrop
know,
actually.
like the smells and the
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
and the birds, and there's a way that the place that you grew up at a different level than places you might move to
sure.
later. And for me, the setting is really important in all my stories. It's kind of a character in its own right. So once I left Zimbabwe, I had a sort of period of literary homelessness where I had nothing else to really say about Zimbabwe, but I hadn't lived in New Zealand long enough to really know it at that level. And when I moved to Texas, same thing. I didn't really, really know it viscerally in the way that I think I would need to write about it with
Yep.
any degree of authenticity. So fantasy, I've always loved reading it. And it was a logical next step where I could create my own world. I didn't have to,
Yeah.
run my own research or my own experiences.
I love that. It has to be fun and kind of like a different life that you're living, something, kind of live through that story that you're creating. It's really cool.
It's a different experience writing it for sure. It was really that's why I think I wrote it just for fun, really for me. Then when a few people read it, they said you should submit it, and I kind of thought I was on this path to be a sort of not that fantasy can't be serious, but the books I'd released before were quite sort of serious contemporary literature, I guess, that dealt with
Yeah.
sort of historical periods. I just had a vision that if I couldn't do that, then I was not succeeding or not following the right path. But this is a much better fit for me, I think,
Mhm.
overall. I'm glad I did because you can explore quite serious themes through fantasy, and there's a lot of depth to it. It's not shallow or silly,
Yeah.
but it does give you freedom because you're not restricted by the real world.
I wanted to ask you because Bastrop is a smaller town, obviously, and when you moved to Bastrop, I'm assuming you didn't know many people here. Was your husband was he from Bastrop or what made you choose Bastrop?
At the time, I was teaching in Del Valley, so it was kind of close. We started out in Cedar Creek and then moved in after
Okay.
COVID. And I'd had a baby, and I just felt too isolated out in
Yep.
the real country.
Yes.
But that was really the only reason. I just wanted to get out of Austin because it hadn't been a very pleasant experience going through the divorce, and I just wanted to get away out of the
Fresh
city
start.
and go
Mhm.
somewhere else. Yeah, and I really liked Bastrop. I still do. I think it's a great little town. It's so pretty, and the people are so nice. But no, we didn't really know anyone. We had to make new friends here.
So your book right now, if someone in Bastrop wanted to buy it, do we have to go to Austin, Amazon?
Well, I don't know whether the local store, is stocking it. Obviously, the library is always a great option. I've got to push for using the
Yes.
libraries. I think there's a bit of a wait list on it here, though. Pretty much any of the big bookstores, Barnes and Noble, definitely.
Awesome.
Obviously, Amazon,
Yeah.
all the independent stores. It's pretty widely distributed. You can find it most places.
Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna have to check it out. I know I love to read. I grew up loving to read books. It was kind of like my escape, when anything was stressful or I just wanted an escape. I went
Yeah.
straight to a book. So it drives me crazy because my girls don't love reading, but I think later on they will. They're still kind of young and one's a
Yeah.
teenager. Yeah, I would love to read your book.
I know it was a Sunday Times bestseller, which was a big thing for
No.
me. That was a really, big deal personally. And then it was a Target book club pick for March this year as well. So in all the Target stores across the states, there was a special edition with, signed copies. So I had to
That's
sit down and sign 8,000 of the book, little tip-in sheets. I just did a wine and sign. So I'd sit in front of the TV, wine, and
that's
just
fun.
yeah,
Yes.
curse myself for having a long signature.
Thinking about shortening an hour, getting a stamp.
Oh my gosh, I did not think that one through. Yeah, very good problem to have.
Oh, that's funny. So tell me a little bit about what's lighting you up, getting your creative juices flowing these days. What makes you get the motivation to write?
It's been such a heavy year, I think, for everybody, right? In a lot of ways, especially these last few weeks. So I think it's been tricky for everyone to find those points of lightness and joy
Mhm.
um, this year. But I am working on the book that's coming out next year, and that's been a lot of fun. Just because it's very different, still fantasy, but I get to research fun things like medieval bookbinding and the minds of ravens, and I like going down rabbit holes for things
Yeah.
like that.
With the research piece, you get really into that?
I do, yeah, and it is a made up world, but I like to, personally within that world, I like it to make sense. So I'm not going to just have my character drinking coffee in a world where there's not a warm climate place that produces coffee beans and exports them. I'm probably overthinking all of that, but I like to try and have it make sense within the world, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of research and reading to try to get my details right.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. And you mentioned you have a kiddo. That's a fun
Yeah,
age.
she's the
5 is
best.
fun. Yeah. Yeah,
She's
5.
so creative and smart. I just think she's the
Yeah.
best.
Does she like to write?
She does. She's writing little sentences now, just sounding out the words.
Yeah.
And she loves to draw. So she
Yeah.
writes me little notes, especially when she's mad. She'll go off and write me a little angry letter. I'm going into the forest and I'm never coming back, Mum. So I've got all of them. They're great.
I tell you, these kids, they keep you very humble.
Oh yeah, they sure do. Yeah, she looks at my books and she's like, "Mom, those are boring."
Oh, she wants a picture book.
The pictures. So yeah, not much respect for the craft. As
Yeah.
yet. But yeah, we have just the one daughter. We have 5 cats. So we always have we have a revolving door of fosters and things with cats. But we have 5, and I'm a big cat lady. Actually, one of the main characters in the book is a talking cat.
Oh, very
His name is
cool.
Cornelius. I do think more adult novels should have talking animals.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. I love it.
My daughter woke up at 3 a.m. today,
Oh,
so I've been up
no.
for a while. I know.
Is she sick or she just
No,
Yeah,
there's literally no
because
reason. She
oh,
just
I
woke
know.
up and said, "Mom, I've got the energy for waking up now." I was like, "Oh, that's nice that
Gosh,
you do."
we're not ready.
I guess I just would like people to know that I would love them to read my book if it sounds like their thing. It's not for everyone. I know not everyone's a fantasy reader. I should specify that it has no spice because I know that that's something a lot of people look for in fantasy novels.
Is it?
Yeah, they spice. They have a little chili pepper scale for
I
the
see.
spice levels, and I got a green bell pepper, so there is no spice in it. But
Okay. Okay.
that's just not my thing. But it's fun. I hope people read it. I'm very happy to be living here in Bastrop, and I would love to connect with
Yeah.
writers and readers here and
Yeah.
have more of a community surrounding that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. If you're listening and you're a writer or you're interested in the writing community, definitely reach out. Andrea, I'm going to put links to your books and then also just if you want your email address in there. Is that
Sure.
okay? Okay,
Yeah, that's
perfect. I'll put all that in the show notes. And then I'll get with you later on the book because I do want to get a copy.
awesome. I just love the cover underneath as well. I think it's so pretty.
Oh,
And
that's a beautiful book. I love pretty books. I
I
do.
love it.
Now I've got to have one. It's
Yeah, the
gorgeous.
sprayed edges thing is really fun. The American edition has the sprayed edges too, different ones. But
Yes.
I'm getting really nerdy about sprayed edges or spreadges, as people call them, because
Yeah.
they're just super fun to
It
have. The
is
next
fun.
book will have them too, which is good.
Awesome. And then where would someone find you in Bastrop if is there a place that you visit often? Like any
I look at
restaurants or
Coffee Dog a lot. Sometimes I'll meet up with
Coffee
a
Dog?
reader
Love
and
Coffee
Coffee
Dog.
Dog. I try to support local if I can, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So that's usually where I'll go to work because they let you sit for ages and there's power
Yes.
outlets. So
Yes.
that's
And
probably
caffeine, all the things you need.
and caffeine. Yeah.
Coffee Dog is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for hopping on today. It was great to meet you. I love meeting new friends, and especially and people who live in Bastrop. So I hope to see you out and about and continue the conversation.
for sure. It was very nice to meet you and thank you for having me on here. I'm
Of
excited that
course.
this exists.
Yes, me too. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
That's it for this episode of Real Women of Bastrop. If today's story moved you, made you laugh, or reminded you of the power of community, share it with a friend and please leave us a quick review. It helps more people find these stories and the women behind them.